Good afternoon, everyone. I think right on the clock, we wanted to start this new edition. I think every Tuesday for the last 8, 9 weeks, we've been meeting you for our Tuesday Docs, which is essentially has been around first how India should be coping with the lockdown, and then thereon how we should be putting India back to work. But this webinar that we've started, or this webinar that we've started, coming in from a completely different perspective. For us as TeamLease, we have different stakeholders that make us successful. I mean, we know that we alone can't do our bit. I think from our perspective, while obvious candidates is one of our stakeholders. Corporates are one of our stakeholders. Government bodies, policymakers, federal policymakers are a stakeholder. Academic institutions or colleges and universities are a stakeholder. But side by side, when it comes to solving the heart of why we exist, or what essentially we play to when it comes to our vision of putting India to work is matching. And we always have been of the opinion that currently the engine is broken and dysfunctional for many reasons. One, of course, that the entire algorithm of matching, connecting demand to supply is inadequate, is cumbersome, it is completely dependent on manual work and judgment. Secondly, is the repair process. There are a lot of graduates. There are 58% graduates in this country who are so-called underemployed, who earn less than 6,500 rupees a month. Well, graduate we feel is a decent enough degree, and hence why are so many people unemployed? And I think at the heart of this problem is the fact that most of them do not have the employability skills that are required for them to make a cut, for them to get a job, or a job which is a decent job. And somewhere at the crux of it all is that when we are trying to, I mean, even if we are trying to attempt the last mile interventions and come up with employability solutions, we feel that even that remains inadequate because the prepare process, which is essentially preparing supply for demand, is also dysfunctional because India, if you were to refer at the National Occupation Code data, 90% of the people who are coming out of schools and colleges and universities have knowledge but few skills, while 90% of the jobs that exist in the country require skills and not knowledge. And hence, this needs to be bridged. For solving the problem of employment and employability has to be done through these three. And one of the most important partners in enabling this process are a lot of the not-for-profit organizations who are out there who are actually trying to help and support candidates to provide them with either skills, resources, infrastructure to make the right move. So, and for us at TeamLease, for us to succeed at the scale at which we operate, we feel we cannot really solve the problem through organic efforts. We can't do it alone. And the only way that we can succeed is to have a collaborative approach towards this by complementing each other in terms of what we do best, what specialties that we do. Like what we bring to the table for our partners are access to 2,200 named organizations across 67 companies. We have job types. Honestly, we've been assessing this. There are more than 16,500 job types for which we provide resources to different organizations. So that's what we bring to the table. And we hope that our partners will be able to bring the candidates who are qualified, employable, readily available, have the right attitude and attributes to fit into the job. So this particular webinar we've started, and I think I'm taking a little bit of time in the intro just to set the context about today's discussion, because this will be an ongoing dialogue from our side. And the context is to now hear from our panelists who are largely experts coming in from different foundations, which are whose single objective, if I may summarize, while each one of you may have your own, is to provide decent livelihood options for those who are not able to do it by themselves. I mean, that's my takeaway from what I see, how we can collaborate with this panel of specialists. So just to give you all a brief introduction, while I will request the panelists, when they start responding to the questions, themselves far more elaborately and what their foundation or their outfit engine essentially are doing. So we have with us Mr. Chetan Kapoor, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Tech Mahindra Foundation. We have Ms. Aarti Singh, who is the Regional Livelihood Head, South and East India for Match Plus India Foundation. We have Mr. Subroto Roy, who is Director Program for Smile Foundation. And we have Alka Mishra, who's the head of placements for ICICI Foundation. So we do have some of the leading names in this space in terms of livelihood work, NGOs which are essentially supporting different organizations. And it's really a pleasure to interact and talk to you about how we can solve some of the problems which are emanating from the COVID situation. So many things that have happened, many things that have changed in the last year. So from my first question would be that from like Chetan, I'll start with you. From your vantage point and from where you stand from your from that kind of foundation perspective, what is your assessment of the current situation? And what do you think is the situation when we are talking about the healthcare, especially to do with the migrant workforce? What are the kind of impacts that you're seeing in the rural areas and so on and so forth? Just to give me a little bit of a perspective, that how are you viewing this current situation and what's your role in it all?
So thanks a lot, Ritu, and thank you for inviting me to this forum. Really glad to be here. Just by way of very quick introduction, Tech Mahindra Foundation has been working in the skill development space ever since we started work in 2007. Though we really gathered pace only in 2012 when we launched the Skills for Market Training, or the SMART program, which currently has close to 100 centers, which are implemented by a network of NGO partners across all major cities of India. In addition to these 100 odd centers, we are also running what we call the Smart Academies, which are being implemented directly by the foundation. And at these academies, we have a deeper focus on specific sectors. Currently, we are doing healthcare and digital technologies through our academies. We have 5 such academies in all, 3 on healthcare, Delhi, Mumbai, and Mohali, and 2 digital marketing, Hyderabad and Vizag. Across the past 7-8 years, um, we've trained more than 100,000 youth so far. And year on year, we've had a track record of about 70 to 75% placements, and we've tracked almost all the students. The to I'll respond to your question just in a bit, but just to I think one very important point to be mentioned here is, and this is kind of taking on from the title of the webinar itself, which is how can non-profits and for-profits work together. I would choose to bring CSRs in the for-profit space here. So I think the success of the SMART program has been that right from the beginning we chose to work with a large number of community-based organizations, because where we in skill development essentially is about creating a very strong supply chain between the supply side, which is our youth, a lot of whom come from villages, a lot of whom are second generation immigrants into our cities, essentially a lot of whom who've done basic schooling, but as you mentioned earlier, that it's employability skills which they lack. And on the other hand, we have the formal sector. So we have corporate India, we have the manufacturing and construction industry, we have retail, we have so many different sectors. So any good skill development program has to ensure a very strong supply chain mechanism existing between the supply and the demand. And by working with a large network of NGOs which are embedded in communities, so we have deliberately chosen relatively smaller organizations which are embedded in communities, in the low socioeconomic segments in our cities. I think that has really been the strength of the SMART program. So I think it's very important to understand that this supply and demand It has to be done if we are able to create strong linkages between communities and the industry, and the training centers that we set up, are the key to sort of do it well. Also, just like somebody has said that education is too important to be left only to schools. I would say that similarly, skill development is too important to be left only to CSR. I think skill development has to become an active part of corporate strategy. And even after so many years, I feel that there is still a long way to go before the skill development narrative really gets into corporate strategy, in the for-profit segment. So uh, th- these were some initial remarks. Now, coming to your question, yes, of course, the current crisis has impacted us and all of us, I dare say, very, very strongly. What has really happened because of this is that, the supply chain that I just mentioned, that has been disrupted very strongly. And in general, I think disruption of supply chains across the board has been one of the biggest adverse impacts of COVID, which has impacted lives as well as livelihoods. Um, and so what I think, like a lot of us, the moment the it was evident that the crisis that we are looking at is as large as it is, we've been sort of repurposing. We've tried to see how we can still continue to keep a connect with our potential beneficiaries, which is the youth. We are trying ways around e-learning, so on and so forth. But yes, I must confess that despite all the efforts, we can only you know we can only be only suboptimal, given the kind of constraints that we are facing right now.
Thank you so much. So, moving on. I think Aarti, let's bring you in here. Same question essentially. How are you assessing the current situation from your organization perspective, and what's your take in terms of this large number of migrant labor that has suddenly become available? What's going on really?
Right. Thank you so much, Ritu. A very good afternoon to all the esteemed panelists, to Ritu and to the entire team leads for organizing such a needy webinar, what we are looking right now. So just to talk about something about my organization, so founded by Matthew Spacey in the year 1999, Magic Bus equips children and young people in the age group of 12 to 18 with the skills and knowledge they need to grow up and to move out of poverty. So this takes them from childhood full of challenges to a life with a meaningful livelihood. So it's exactly what we are doing. So when you just, coming to the topic, putting India back to work. I mean, what else can we all think now? I mean, this is indeed a discussion that we all need at this stage. So we all will have to understand. I mean, one fact that this virus is not going to go for the next 18 months or till the vaccine is found, and this is going to be there. I mean, maybe for another 18 months or so. So what is that we can actually looking at basically is this on and off lockdown is something which will continue, right? And the economy, if we see that it has taken the biggest hit in all times, then it's very important that India now starts working. Because at this stage, definitely we can't allow the economy to worsen furthermore. I mean, if you look at the industries has taken a very drastic shift how we were 3 months before. I mean, we were not very sure that which industry, I mean, everything was going good. But now looking at the industries, there has been a big hit when you look at even an IT, ITS or a BFSI or a retail, or you take a quick service restaurant or an e-commerce. But slowly what we see for the last 1.5 months that IT, ITS is again picking up, BFSI is picking up, e-commerce and logistics are also picking up. But what will take time now is the entire gamut of retail, hospitality, travel and tourism, which will take much time. But when we look at when we watch webinars, when we see the top industrialists who keep tweaking that it is a high time that we start our economy back, it's a high time that we revive our economy back. Infosys founder Narayana Murthy has also echoed some similar sentiments in one of the webinars that India has to continue, start working, because this situation cannot continue for the longer time, because There may be some point of time where the deaths due to hunger will far outweigh the deaths due to corona. So, but we need to be very, very mindful, you know, when we say that we have to revive the industries back. So we have to be very careful. I mean, the employers as well as the employees, the organization must adhere to safety and all the precautionary measures. Because right now, what we say that putting India back to work, I would just try to rephrase that putting India back to work safely. You know, how safely we can start the work once again. Coming to your question, Ritu, I mean, how do you actually look at the current situation? So, I mean, I was telling you that I mean there are lots of job losses which has happened because of the biggest shift what the industries have taken. Many of these small industries have been shut off. The laborers have lost job. Many of them have been into sabbatical layoff. There has been a salary slash across all the industries. But what are the one particular segment which is more affected is the migrant laborers, of course, and the daily wage workers who have been much affected with that. With factories and industries shutting down, millions of migrant workers has to deal with the loss of income, food shortage, uncertainty about the future. Government has taken many steps. I mean, many of them are moving back to their native town. Some of them have even taken up, you know, a long walk, miles together to reach their destination. So was it only because of a fear of losing the job, or was it because of the uncertainty about the future?
We lose you, Aarti? Okay. I think we'll come back to Aarti to wrap it up. Shall we move on to you, Subrata?
So I'm sorry, I mean,
Yeah, she's back.
She's back. Yeah. So, yes, Aarti.
yeah, right. So if you just look at the migrants, I mean, they all hail from UP, Bihar, Odisha, followed by Rajasthan and MP. You know, they are mostly from the rural areas, moving to the cities just to, have a vision to get a better life, get a better opportunity where they are paid off. It doesn't mean that rural doesn't have an opportunity. They do have an opportunity, but when we look at the salary bracket, it's a little high when they move to the cities. So very interesting survey also has revealed that 42% of these migrants are from contractual laborers and 58% of them are the casual laborers, right? We see them everywhere. I mean, we have seen them everywhere, but yet we never imagined that migrant workers as a group big enough to be taken very seriously. But now after the whole issue, I think right from policymakers to the employers, to the NGOs, industries have started looking back. I mean, if I just look at the migrants, they basically constitute 30 to 40% of the economies in most of the cities. But what we basically now we are looking at, some migrants are coming back. Yes, employers are bringing them back. But to just look at the darker side, there are 30% of migrants who do not even want to return back to the cities. They say that they will not return back. So when they say that they will not return back, which means that there is going to be a load in that particular state, in that particular district, right? So initiatives has to be taken to create an enabling environment for setting up new enterprises and industries, leading to the demand of the workers on one hand. On the other hand, measures to increase the employability and supply of skilled workforce in the labor market system, because that is the only remedy what I look at. I mean, largely when I look at the skilling organization, be it a Tech Mahindra or a Smile Foundation or an ICICI Foundation or Magic Bus, we get beneficiaries from the communities where the parents are basically the daily wage workers or the library or the migrant laborers, or getting into any kind of an informal segment. So mostly all of them, 76% of them have lost the job. We have done a recent survey in Magic Bus, last month, so which says that 76% of the households have lost their income. 40% of the youth have lost their jobs. So as Magic Bus, I mean, I see a bigger risk here because our vision is, childhood to livelihood, taking a child in a very successful journey for 7 years so that he, takes up a sustainable livelihood through our livelihood centers, or he gets into any professional course. So as a Magic Bus, I see a bigger risk here because a loss of wage will have a direct repercussion on the children. This will put the children and their childhood at risk. In order to get back at least 50% of their pre-COVID income, the family atmosphere may actually force, I mean, rather push the children to take up jobs that will promote child labor, and most of them may not even return back to school, once the school reopens. So this is a very gloomy side that we see. So it's a high time that we as a non-profit and for-profit organization come together and support the community and the daily wage workers in restoring these livelihoods. So with these thoughts, I just take a pause here.
Thanks so much, Aarti. I think I would like to request all the participants, we seem to have all of you, just for everyone's benefit, if you have questions for any of the panelists or it's just a question that is there in your mind, please start putting those questions in the Q&A tab. You must be seeing the Q&A tab right next to you at right at the bottom of your window. Please start putting your questions there right at the end of this discussion. We'll spend 20 minutes at least just responding to your questions. Right? Thanks so much. Subrato, over to you now. What do you
Thanks. Thanks, Ritu. Thanks, Ritu. And first of all, I would like to thank TeamLease that you have been our very good placement partner for over now 2 years. And, thank you so much. And also giving us opportunity to interact with all of you here and to express Rupa. Smile Foundation, started in 2002 and always with the approach of life cycle approach. We're starting from education to health and livelihood and also women empowerment, all the 4 sectors we have been, working. And we have touched, every year we touch more than 750,000, children and their families. And we are working now in more than 26 states with 350 projects. And livelihood is one of the core sector where we, every year we train around 10,000 youth, 18 youth, and place them with the 75% placement. And as you rightly said, core employability skill is the key. So that's why we focus on more on functional knowledge of English, computers, and personality development as a one of the key things. And apart from that, other domain skills which are required. But now what has happened after the lockdown, it has been a real challenge for us also that, how do we place? Because most of the students which were got there used to get placement in either retail sector or in the hospitality sector. But since the things have changed, so we also have to migrate to the new course and skilling. So like digital marketing, we have started now. Also healthcare as a one of the area which we feel is a strong going to be a very emerging market. So a lot of caregivers are required. So we are moving into that. And also like digital labeling is one area where we think is there will be a lot of scope. So those are the things we are working on. And coming to your question, that how we work onto the migratory, bring back the migratory workers back into the system, I would address in 2 parts. One is that those who are already in the cities are still there. How do we address that? And those who have gone back, how do we bring them back? So since this has become a big challenge and everybody has addressed that, okay, this is a real problem. So first step, I would say that, if we can with the NGO and also the industry, we can map what are their skills they already have and we can upskill them so that they can get a better wages, so that they have their more social capital and they don't have to go back when, again, such kind of crisis happens. Because right now what has happened, because they have run out of their, funds, their savings, and they are forced to go back. And those who don't want to come back, I think we have to look at what kind of solutions we can provide in the villages. I mean, agriculture is already in stress. So what is a non-farm activity which we can do? How, we can work at, dairy industry or some kind of other food processing industry or something, which with the help of e-commerce and other logistics, we can market those products and help them in market online products. So those kind of collaboration, I think, will be the very helpful in this regard. And those who are in cities, we would like industry to work with the NGOs to develop new courses which are there actually required for the skills. What we have seen that while everybody needs the the right kind of skill set in the when it comes to the industry, but there are very few industries which come forward and tell, okay, these are the skills, and if you can, and this is the course curriculum, and you can teach on this course curriculum, and that will help us to get a better functional skills, and that will really help in that way. So that kind of collaboration will be very helpful for us, I would say, to sum up on this one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alka, now over to you.
So very good afternoon to all, and thank you, Ritu, for giving this platform to speak and a quick introduction about foundation. So we work in a very captive manner. We segregate ourselves into 3 divisions. One is ICSA Academy for Skills, in which we do the vocational courses into technical and non-technical, wherein we are present in 26 states, and we are yet to open to, during this lockdown, we opened up in Jammu and Ranchi, which is going to open just immediately after the lockdown. And then where we are into rural initiative, wherein we trained the rurals, like almost 1200 villages we have trained them. We trained them in their own domain and help them and enhance their livelihood. And third is RCT, Rural Self-Employment Training Institute, which is a government program. So these are the three areas we are working. So I take care of the placement, and now because of this lockdown and all, we are also, you know, taking care of rural and everywhere. So during this lockdown, you know, I spoke to almost thousands of employees. You know, what challenges are they facing, and which areas do they need support from skill academies like us. So firstly, to your question, that these migrants which have left, so they are from retail sector, they are from the technical sectors like electricians, then mobile repair shops where they were working. So different areas we mapped from where these migrants have left and gone. So spoken to all those people who has lost these migrants, what are their plans to bring them back. So most of them, they said ki, okay, we believe that 20 to 30% of the migrants might come back, but remaining, they said ki, it is little tough for us to convince them. So then we are approaching those migrants, you know, who has migrated from here to Bihar, Rajasthan and all, and we have spoken to them. So in Rajasthan, we are doing like training them into machinery, okay, machines. So the challenges in Mumbai, they used to get in between 800 to 1000 rupees a day. But in Rajasthan, it is 500 to 700, 600 like this. They might get like the kind of payment which they were getting, they might not get there. But still, you know, after this training, they said, we want to stay back. The major reason which we could find out was they were very much scared about their health. You know, they said, you know, while they were leaving Mumbai or different other from Delhi or any other places, nobody really cared about their health, you know. So I'm very sad to, you know, understand our health sector really needs to be improved, right? So those areas which I would say that we should really look up, because they feel, okay, they can come here, they will get their livelihood, they will get their food, but what about their health? They are not even aware whether they are infected with COVID or not. They are going to their villages, they are being quarantined, but no health checkup is being done on them. So after 14 days, are they not infected? They are not even aware. Villages are scared to accept them, you know, allow them, whether they are COVID free or not. So all these questions, you know, which they ask us and we are unable to answer them. So in this platform also, I would request all the panelists to give suggestion how to go about it. But yeah, there are certain government scheme which we are taking. One is NABARD, which is, you know, taken initiative that train these migrants and 50% NABARD will bear and 50% we. So we are doing it in Rajasthan. And second is Unnati for females, you know, females, we are training them in dress designing, beauty and wellness, healthcare also. So all these things we are doing. And some migrants, they say, we don't want to come back. I was working with in a mobile shop, and but teachers, trainers into mobile repair, and we will help us, because you all are from banking background, help us to get some fund and we'll open up a small shop here. So I'm having a talk with all those industry partners that if they can arrange those kind of a training, you know, small scale workshop can be conducted over there, and they can, you know, get that training there and they can stay back there. But yeah, who wants to come, whom industry are willing to absorb, take them back, fine. But people who doesn't want, they should be trained there at their hometown, you know, because they're scared. They are very much scared to come back. So that areas, I don't know how should we go about in, you know, taking that fear from their mind. You know, it was very difficult for them to move. So the mindset with which they have gone back, nobody is understanding that mindset. You know, we are talking about getting them back. We are talking about maybe they will get job, but they are not interested to come back. Most of them, which we have spoken to, we have done mapping about their mindset. They don't want to come back. They say ki we will do whatever skilling you want to help us. If you want to help us with some skilling over here, do something for us, our livelihood over here. We are ready to stay here. We don't want to go back. So this is from my end.
Absolutely. I think after hearing all of you, while I have a structured set of questions, my mind is right now quite stirred up with various questions around this particular subject. And I will take 30 seconds and randomly highlight some of those questions, and then I'll just summarize it into what my real question is. One is that, and I'm going to put on my hat as somebody whose job, I mean, I spend all my hours that I'm awake just thinking about how we can create more formal jobs in this country. And by formal jobs, I essentially am talking about jobs of dignity, jobs which assure a minimum quality of wages which you need, living wages which you need to survive and meet some of your basic aspirations. For me, that is a decent job, right? And in India, the GDP divide between the North and the East and the South and the West has been always very exposed. The North and the East of this country have excess supply, but their GDP contribution has been minimal, while it's exactly the opposite down South. And that essentially has been the source of interstate migration that happens in India. Essentially, you can't take jobs to people in India, and hence you're taking people to jobs. COVID has forcefully changed that scenario for us. Yes, there is reverse migration which has happened. People have gone back to their respective homelands. But my question which is there is that, do these states, yes, they have gone back, but are these states doing enough to create local jobs for them? And like the point that you're making, and we've seen this. I mean, I remember that we had gone to a job fair in Rajasthan per se, and then this kid who's quite a smart kid, he says, listen, tell me where you want to go. My bags are packed. It's just that and he's from Barmer. He said, if you want me to work in Barmer, if you have a job for me here, I'll charge you 8,000 rupees. If you want me to go to Jaipur, 10,000 rupees. If you want me to go to Gurgaon, you'll have to pay me 14,000. If you want me to go to Bombay, 25,000. Because all of them have a basic mathematics in place in terms of cost of living across each of these places. The point that I'm saying is, while he's expecting 8,000 because he knows cost of living in Barmer is what it is, do we have jobs in Barmer? Do we have jobs in wherever these people are coming from? And hence, how can we solve this situation right now? Narega has improved the daily rate from about 180 to about 240 bucks. So it's a minor increase. Yes, it's an increase, but it's a minor increase. Would that be enough to meet their aspirations in the first place? Or is it that we are thinking too far and it's a matter of time that all of these people will come back to the respective states, because these states will continue to be the job magnets, right? So I think these are some of the random points. But what I would like to ask all of you is that, given the current situation and given your role from your foundation, respective foundations perspective, what are you going to now do differently? How are you going to view employment differently? How are you going to view the sectors differently? Which sectors you'll be looking at? How are you going to do skilling differently, if at all? Because I think the even skilling landscape has to change. The initial sectors for which we were training people, they seem to have gone on strike. Retail is under distress. Hospitality is under distress. Aviation is under distress. So a lot of those sectors are right now on strike. and because there is no demand. And hence, how are you recalibrating? What are you changing now in your scheme of things, in your plans? So I'll start with Chetan. Chetan.
Sure, Ritu, thanks. And I think it's a very, very relevant question. In fact, as we all understand that, in the current scenario, obviously there are far more questions than answers. In fact, there are many questions for which honestly we do not have answers to. However, the moment this crisis started, I've been thinking about it this way, and I've been telling my team also that this is the time where we can actually step back and reflect on the things that need to be done differently across the board. Clearly, the few things which have already emerged as key priorities, taking from what has already been said by all the other panelists, is that we need to fight this war at multiple fronts. So we know that the solutions can't be only found at the city end where there are jobs, and the solutions can't be found only at the village or the rural India end where there are the people. We have to look at it as across the board. For us who are skill training providers, we have to look at reskilling, we have to look at upskilling, and we have to look at skilling with self-employment or entrepreneurship as the goal, something that has so far not been adequately done. I think we've been too focused on entry-level frontline jobs, but clearly there is, even if the COVID crisis had not happened, I would say that we would now be staring at a situation where a lot of people who we had skilled, say about 8-10 years back, would be facing, where they still have many years of working years ahead of them. They would be in the need of reskilling or upskilling. So in any case, that is something that we need to look at. How do you get somebody who was trained as, let's say, a GDA, a general duty assistant, a few years back? How do you help this person move up the ladder? Also, because we know that that the current situation has has kind of really done a lot of manthan, I would say, a lot of shake-up in the employability space. There are areas which are going to come up as offering more opportunities. So you will need to reskill people. People who have been skilled in job A earlier will need to be skilled because job A does not exist anymore. So they'll have to be put to job B. So they will need to be reskilled. Also, we know that self-employment is a huge opportunity which has not been adequately tapped. So I would say that skill development providers will need to look at all of these three aspects, which is upskilling, reskilling, and skilling for self-employment in a far more significant way than what we've seen before. The second point that I would like to make is that, and this is based on personal experience. Several years back, I had the opportunity to visit about 25 districts across India, which are the source districts for migrants. These are the supply districts. And what I realized is that there is a huge need for those of us who are working in rural India in skill development to get into what I call pre-employability skill training. We know that on an average, most of these kids migrate when they are about 14, 15, 16 years of age. That's typically the age when youngsters start to migrate. Now they migrate without having any knowledge of what the world of work is all about, what the requirement is. So there's a huge need to kind of take on skilling as an initiative for people who are who are at the cusp of employability, I would say, who are not completely employable as yet, but who need that kind of skilling. So even from a policy perspective, I would say that we really need to look at secondary education differently, because a lot of these kids who sort of complete their schooling arrive in our cities completely unequipped to handle the requirements of what the job front is like. So that is definitely one of the things that we as people working in the skill development space need to look at, in a very, very significant manner. So I hope that kind of addresses
yes, Chetan,
your
definitely.
question.
Aarti, same question to you. I mean, what is it that you are thinking of doing differently? Because a lot of things have changed. Things that we had luxuries of earlier, I call them luxuries now that we are hit by COVID, which we had earlier. Now, what are we going to do differently to help? Whether it's in terms of the approach towards certain sectors, the way we were doing skilling, the way we were doing mobilization of these resources, anything that you think we should be doing differently or you're already doing differently?
Right. So yes, Ritu, just to get into your question, I would also like to say that how Magic Bus has kind of equipped itself, you know, how we have actually evolved ourselves during this entire crisis. Because when the lockdown was announced on 24th of March, I mean, the biggest thing that came into our mind was, I mean, oh my God, now what do we do? Because we have closer than more than 50 plus skilling centers. I mean, what do we do now with the youth who are already enrolled the training program? The youths who have completed and are ready to go for a job. I mean, we had two cohorts. I mean, we were completely, you know, out of mind, out of thought. I mean, we thought that how are we going to bring them back now? What are the ways to engage? You know, initially what we did was like, you know, we kept calling people, we kept calling the parents, we ensured that, I mean, the complete orientation was given to the youth, to the parents, to the community, that how to stay safe, how to maintain a social distancing, all that stuff. But this went on for a week. Then we realized that this is not going to go off immediately. I mean, we have to think something to engage the youth. So that is when we took a call that, okay, why don't we start engaging them virtually? You know, that again was, we had a lot of challenges. I mean, we had to call up youths to, you know, find out whether they have an access to smartphone or not, whether they even have an access to a basic phone or not. So our survey actually found, we could find out that closer to 70% of them have access to smartphones. I mean, somebody or the other in the house had a smartphone with which they can have an access. The second thing was connecting with them. So when we started connecting with them, the problem again was with us was, you know, the internet connectivity was a big challenge for these young people. I mean, the bandwidth was a problem. You know, and many of them were not actually used to get into a virtual training platform. And this is something which is very new for them. And it's also new for our own trainers because they have never handled anything virtually. So it was kind of, you know, picking up from there, picking up each thread, joining it together and making it a structure, really, you know, something that we actually had to struggle. But today, if you look at, you know, we are now the curriculum, whatever we were being given 3 months back. Now, 75% of our curriculum, we are able to deliver through a virtual platform. You know, we have mobilized closer to 2,700 new youths. I mean, how did we able to mobilize? Because the life has to go on, the learning has to go on, and the skilling, I mean, to take any organization, the skilling completely depends on the CSR funding. I mean, there are funders, there are donors who have invested money on us. So at the end of the day, we are answerable to them, and not only to them, to the community, to the youth, to our beneficiaries. So I mean, so the mobilization went on. How did we do our mobilization? I mean, we had a strong alumni network with us. I mean, we were building on alumni network. I mean, we had a pool of talent. So people who have graduated from our centers. So, and they are basically working as a brand ambassador for us. So we have picked them, and through them, we have formed virtual batches, ensuring that we are adhering to the basic eligibility criteria, what Magic Bus has formulated. We are sticking on to that, and we have enrolled closer to 2,700 new youths. I mean, this is done. I mean, we have done the enrollments. We have also, you know, trying to engage with youths during this crisis. But now comes the placement. I mean, as I was discussing, not only me, I mean, the other panelists have also brought it out that industries have completely changed. I mean, the IT doesn't look like how it used to look like, because if you just look at the IT industry as such, they are the people who have actually induced you know, work from home culture. But today, when I look at Magic Bus, what we have done, we have placed closer to 2,000 plus people, out of it 700 odd are working from home. You know, that is something what we could crack. How did we basically do it? We started speaking to employers. As I mean, Alka was saying that she reached out to 1,000 plus employers. I mean, that was a need for us right now, because we had to find out, I mean, which employer is giving opportunity, which employer is hiring now. And I also like endorse what Ritu had told in Times of India, that I mean, the hiring is happening, but hiring is completely need-based and transactional. I mean, it's not that the market has opened up. It's like people are very, very careful. People are very, very mindful when they are hiring people. So here, what happens is, when you when you look at the employability skills, I mean, what we call about, there are vocations. I mean, when employment, when we talk about it, so there are skills which, which we say that vocational is completely, yes, we do vocational skills, we do academic skills. But what is more required is, what does the employer look forward for? I mean, the employers are seeking applicants with people who have, who can learn, who can adapt, who can read, who can write, who can compute competently, who can listen, who can communicate effectively, think creatively. I mean, who can solve problems, who can manage themselves at work efficiently, who can handle basic technology. I mean, these are the skills what the employers right now are looking. When you look at an employability entailment, much more than the ability to get a first job, it's having the capacity to network and market oneself, navigate through a career, I mean, remain employable throughout the life. It requires the ability to ask questions, acquire new skills, identify and evaluate options, understand rights at the work, including right to a safe and healthy environment, adapt successfully. I mean, this is something what is looked as an employability. So rightfully, just to relate with all these skills, Magic Bus works on the core skills, which is managing oneself, teamwork, communication, problem solving, and learning to learn. I think these are the 5 skills. When we narrowed down on these 5 skills 4 years back, we all had a thought that, okay, because we can't give a lifetime solution to any of the young people. Today, we are placing them in retail. I mean, tomorrow, who knows after 15 years, industry will look like. I mean, we don't know which industry will pick up, which industry will not pick up, which industry will boom, which will come down. But today, when we just look at the current scenario, we have seen that the retail and QSR will take time to pick up. There are lots of job attrition, job losses, and salary cuts, which is happening in retail and in QSR and hospitality and tourism. So with these core skills, I mean, we strongly believe that if somebody has these 5 skills, managing oneself, teamwork, communication, problem solving, and learning to learn, I mean, the sectors are not difficult for them. The job roles are not difficult for them. They can definitely switch over jobs, because here I'm not talking only for those whom we have to put them into a job. I'm talking about those who have lost jobs. Whether these people will get into the same sector, same job role, the answer is a big no. I mean, somebody who has lost a job in retail may not even pick up a job in retail because the employer is not looking forward to hire them.
Right.
The reason is because a retail may not even hire people right now, because the entire retail may now shift into an e-commerce or an online buying. So how do we even give jobs to those people? So if people have these 5 skills, these core skills, I think they can jump into any job role, they can jump into any sector. With these thoughts, I just give a pause here.
Thank you. I think that's very helpful, and I'm hoping that everybody who's attending this webinar will make a note of all those points. Yes, Subrata, also I'm a little mindful of the time. So I want to spend some time tweaking the questions, because some very interesting questions have come up. So we are already at 12:49. So while I have a lot of questions for you as panelists, but I will actually call you back again for another session soon to finish all those questions. And I will give the chance to the audience. But Subrata, let's finish this round. What do you think of the same question?
Yeah. So, I'm keeping the time in mind. Whatever Aarti said is very important, and we are also facing the same thing, and we are also mobilizing the similar fashion. But what we have differently is that we change the format. We know that going forward it will be a hybrid education. So it will be more plus digital plus actually the functional skills like computers and typing, which you require especially when you go for any kind of job. So those things will be required. And also we looked at the jobs which can be combined together, like they can give you jobs also, and they can start their own business also. So linking those jobs with the employability kind of skills. So entrepreneurship training will help them start their own business in the long future. So like starting with like you can do a Photoshop imaging, how can you work on that one part? You can start your search engine optimization, digital marketing course that you can do. Or in the healthcare sector, you can start your own shop with the optimist kind of thing. So those are the things which can be a hybrid model. So that's the one we are looking at on that. And we are also looking at how we can do a digital divide. What we have seen that especially when we are experiencing the education also, like only 40% of the students have a mobile phone which has smartphones, another 40% has just a personal phone. So how can we connect over only on, not only on the app, but how can we connect them over the phone with the conference calls and other things, and can train them, and what kind of other tools which you can provide which they can do self practice. So those, like for English speaking, I understand the English speaking still is the one of the key the simplest one, but can create them employment opportunity in any sector, so, right? Same is with the computers. So those are the two things we are still harping on. But apart from that, we are looking at digital marketing, digital labeling, and healthcare sector, and also insurance. We see health insurance will be going to be huge market going forward, and people will get more and more insurance getting done. So how can we place more people in the sector, and they get either get employed or they can start their own business. So those are the kind of things we are looking at also. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Alka, over to you now.
Yeah, it's a good insight which I'm getting from everyone. But immediately when lockdown happened, what immediate step which I took was I started contacting all the employers, to find out whether the job which our trainees are doing with them is secured or not. So first thing I made sure, like maximum, I would not say if you ask me percentage, because we believe in, we do it 100% placement. And if I say 100%, it is 100% on every front. And the tracking which we follow, which we hand holding, which we do is amazing. So we were in touch with all the alumni. And second, all the faculties, because, training part immediately stopped. So all the faculties were free. So I put everyone on their job to call the alumni, because we have a call center. Because of all these financial issues, bank told us immediately close down this call center. So for me, tracking these trainees was very much important. So across 26 academies, all the faculties were put on job that you will call these trainees and make them rest assured that their job will be safe, because all the employers gave me assurance that, okay, Alka, we'll make sure that. And second thing, the employer's engagement was required. So what I started planning, like we started having different training program from the employer front for these alumni which were working, like retail sector, example Reliance, Godrej and all. So I approached them. So they had some online training program for these trainees. So approx, and when you do online, so your reach out is not limited. You can reach out to maximum. And we did kept the language issues, vulnerable thing in mind. So for South, we zone wise we did. So all the employers, that is ongoing regularly, like employers are in touch with the trainees, they are talking to them, they are organizing online program. And then we wanted to assure these employers that yes, we will provide you these trainings, we will give you trainings. So we started with a digital content team, started working on how to do the digital course. So we just squeezed our program from 3 months to 1 month, so we have 1 month digital. And very happily I will share here that almost all the academies which are doing this digital program, 100% placement has happened. Like yesterday, Vadodara, we had 100%, Calcutta said 100%, Delhi has done 100% placement. So the companies, mostly these trainees who recruited them were banking sector, then small scale industries, like all financial sectors, they all approached. The e-commerce companies, BPOs we approached. So TCS also took our trainees. IBM we helped. So they wanted how we approached them. They said, you now tell me, where does these trainings fit in? So they also have that tech connect with their vendors, so there we did some technical. Tally helped us to make a program for some technical knowledge into computers, and also we help these trainees through digital platform. So these all immediately, we, like all whole team started working on it. And today, if you say, we are okay for technical course, we are facing challenge, but for non-technical courses, we are absolutely on track. But for technical also, Godrej, we are working for the electrical and home appliance thing, and multi-skilling courses. So for that we are planning a digital course on that. So we have approached all the technicians, service centers. So we told them ki we cannot do this, practical is not feasible through this platform. So what we will do, we will, for every trainees, we pay them something, and the training part is done on their front, practical training. So then now they will take also these trainees. So all the service centers were approached, all whether it is related to electronics, electrical, and AC repair and all. So we are working on that platform. Let us see how much success we get. But yes, the approach here should be, what I felt was that employers should be taken on confidence that, okay, yes, these trainees, they will be there with you. And regular this collaboration program, which we made them, collaborate with each other through different platforms, really worked. So today, yes, they have, some of them have lost job, technical courses, but non-technical, yes, we have managed to safeguard their job, and this is how we are working.
Thank you so much for that. We're completely out of time, and hence I would pick up a few questions, and I would ask any one of you to respond so that we can cover more questions. And so whoever wants to answer, just go for it. Abhishek Dhotre, he asks that as part of the skill development initiative, when there is no jobs left in the market, I would like to ask the panelists, what do you think about online internships for the learners, which can provide a sense of working environment for them? So can I request any one of you to pick it so that others can take other questions?
Yeah, I think already we've, online internship has started. I mean, we are getting a lot of employer requests, those who want to actually help with the, employee through our Employee Connect program with the corporates. So they help this, trainees to how to work. I mean, what are the particular skills, how to communicate, so how to experience themselves in the work environment. So those things are actually happening, at the centers, and it's absolutely right. I mean, these are the conditions right now. This is the way forward, which is going to happen that way. Yeah.
Perfect. So I think that's clear, a clear response that it's already started, and it was meant to be, honestly. There is no other way out in the current situation. I'll take Mahesh Shetty's question as well. Mahesh asks, is this the right time for organizations to move towards economical learning management system and eliminate insipid catalog courses? Anybody wants to take that?
Yeah, let me just respond to that. I think he's absolutely right. This is definitely the time for us to look at leaner and meaner ways of doing the same thing. Just like we are doing this webinar, and these webinars are happening so effectively. Imagine the same thing we used to do earlier in large hotels and stuff like that, serving the same purpose. So even in the context of our classes, I think it is time to move to having learning management systems. Of course, as Subroto earlier said, that we have to look at a blended approach. We know that certain skills and competencies can't be done purely using technology. So you will still need to have some human interface. But I think moving towards rationalization and optimization of resources is definitely something that needs to happen through this process.
Thanks. I think a good and a very important question. It's from an anonymous attendee. What about skilling differently abled workforce and ensuring livelihood for them in the current situation? Great question. Anyone wants to take it up? Difficult one, but.
So if I may be allowed, sorry, because Tech Mahindra Foundation has already been working with a mandate of ensuring that at least 10% of all our beneficiaries are persons with disabilities. So as one of the variants of our SMART program, we have what we call the SMART Plus centers. And currently, if I'm not mistaken, we have about 14 of our centers focusing on persons with disabilities. Yes, in the current context, of course, there is a lot of difficulty, but again, as Alka just mentioned, it's at the end of the day, it's a question of being continuously in contact with the employers, assuring them that we have students who will be waiting to join. So inspiring and instilling this confidence at both the ends, which is as far as our students are concerned, and letting them continuously know that we are there for them, that these are difficult times, but these will pass. So giving out that message as far as students are concerned, and at the same time continuously engaging with employers and letting them know that yes, we have a lot of students waiting to join you. That is what needs to be done. And all the things that I mentioned earlier about repurposing the way that we look at skilling would still hold.
I mean,
I just want
just to add on to what Chetan was saying, because now when the entire, the gamut of work has been changed. Now people are promoting work from home. Remote working is something which is happening. I think now the PWD, they have a greater opportunity to get into. And if you just look at companies, if it's Infosys or be it Flipkart, or be it with an IT major like Cape Gemini, they are all coming forward to recruit people with disability. Yes, there are huge chances for that. We can look at one of a, vertical.
I just wanted to this in this one, but that yes, the work from home has provided that opportunity. But how do we reach them? So that's where I think the partners we work with and how do we connect with them? So spatial engagement, community engagement plays a very key role, and that's where I think we have to more focus on that. How do we get to reach out to them? To get them the skilling done on that one part, and what kind of hand holding and what kind of resources is required. And that's where the corporates can really help, even lending the computers so that they can teach at their home. Why do they have to come to any center to work for? So that's where I see the corporate plays a vital role in supporting this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just take 2 minutes, Ritu. What I feel now, we need to understand the requirement of every corporates. What are they looking for right now? In this current situation. So as per their need, if we plan, design a course, or they are also coming up front. They said that internship program, you train them on the soft skill front, you train them on few role models or selling skills, all those things, and we will later for 10 to 15 days we will have our training program. So first we need to understand their requirement, and then accordingly if we plan the training, this is going to work in this current situation.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Manish, you have a questions which I'll take the liberty of answering. It says, can we empanel with this foundation? I'm assuming these foundations, and we can help them find the right job for the skilled students. I'm sure the answer is yes. So please,
yes. We need you.
Reach out to all the panelists if you think you have jobs which can help the kids that they are training and trying to help out. So I'm actually responding on behalf of the panel. Ura, your question is, can the reverse migration of laborers and migrant workers be related to the realization of uncertainty in employability with regards to working in the city? I think yes, in many ways. There are many reasons why migrant workers are leaving the cities. I have also seen situations where migrant workers, guest workers, like I prefer to call them, who have a completely secure job, have also left cities. Because this is essentially when they see, they essentially come and go in communities. When they see few members of the community leaving, even if they have had secure jobs, they've left. And many employers have actually, especially in the essential services sector, have had a tough time because of this situation as well. So yes, your reason is correct assessment in some cases, but there are many other reasons which have emerged because of which guest workers and migrant workers who, in spite of having some secure jobs, have left the cities. So I guess it's complex. Honestly, we'll probably have a session just on the plight of migrant workers very soon. Then there's a question again, Manish, from you. How would be working culture then and now after COVID? I think it's too early to think about it. There are many changes that's going to happen. We're already seeing that. We'll become more digitally literate. We're thinking about remote working. We're thinking about work from home. We're viewing work very differently, but I think it's too early right now to predict how it will be, because COVID is not gone yet. COVID is still here, and we might have to live with it. So that's it. Thanks so much, everyone. I mean, I don't want to intrude into your time. We are already 5 minutes delayed from our original schedule. But yes, I'm happy to share all of you. Today's discussion was an incomplete one, which means it gives us a chance to have resume this dialogue, and maybe I'd like to invite all of you again to finish, because I have at least 3-4 more questions, and I'm sure by the time we do the sessions, I will have more, to have a similar discussion. Our idea is to help as many kids. TeamLease role in this whole thing, let me talk from self-interest perspective. I have a selfish requirement to putting India to work. And if that selfish requirement is towards nation building, so be it. And I need your help, and hence all of you, if you could work together with us to, I know today supply is more than demand, but it's a matter of time that gradually demand should pick up. Yes, demand would pick up in few segments, and let's just focus on those segments and see wherever supply is getting created, wherever people are feeling the heat, we can somehow figure out a way through skilling, through counseling, through consultation to move them to the sectors where these options will become available. So count us in your journey. This is my message to all of you in the panel. And if there are any other vendor partners who've joined in today's call, the same goes for all of you. Thank you so much for.
Thank you, Ritu.
Thank you so much, Ritu.
Thank you.
And thank you so much to the entire TeamLease for getting it organized.
Thank you. See you.
Hope to connect soon.
Yes. Thank you. Stay safe. Bye.
All right.
You all also.
Thank you very much.
It was nice meeting all of you.